Welcome to the interview. I'm Robert Stevens, founder and chief inspector of the Geek Squad. Joining me are Gary Koelling and Steve Bendt of BlueShirt Nation. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us here.
So we're just going to have a conversation about BlueShirt Nation. Most importantly, how it got started. How did you two get involved, and what was your background at Best Buy before?
Yeah, well, I started out here in advertising in the creative department as a copywriter and a creative director, and
I was an account supervisor in the advertising group as well.
yeah,
And we'd partnered up on a project right when I first started. I've been here about 2 years for a home theater campaign. And we worked together. I was the account guy, he was the creative, and we kind of led the campaign.
yeah,
That's how we met.
yeah. And coming out of that one, coming out of that campaign, we were looking at doing a January home theater campaign, right? And so the insights that we were dealing with, that we were using to build the campaign, the customer insights that we were using to build the campaign felt a little
Flat.
thin. And so we ended up going out, Steve ended up going out to the stores with a clipboard basically and just trying to get some insight from the people, who breathe the same air as our customers, to find out what's on their mind, what kind of problems are these guys solving for the customers on a daily basis, and try to build some advertising around those kinds of insights. And
it worked. We get some really good feedback.
yeah.
But we knew that it wasn't really scalable. Couldn't go out and do that all the time. Especially because it took me a couple days to go out and hit all the stores, and it was really time consuming.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just have a place where people could talk about this stuff in general.
And most of those stores you went to were local, geographically, from the corporate office here in Minnesota.
I went to Mankato, which is a little far out. No, but most of them were in the metro area because we didn't have travel budget, didn't have time, that type of thing. So.
And okay, so you developed this method, kind of input. What other things, led you to start playing around in this space?
Well, at that point, it was like, look, for one thing, this doesn't scale. We're not going to get near enough insights to get to anything that feels honest or authentic. And beyond that, we're not going to be able to, have enough insights quantitatively for anyone to take us seriously. Like, this is real input or whatever. So I said, why don't we just, why don't we start an online forum or a blog or whatever, and give everyone in the store access to it, and then we can ask them questions, they can ask us questions, we can have that kind of a feedback mechanism where we can actually get at the insights. So that's kind of how it started. And we found out pretty quickly after starting it that isn't what it was going to be. That the users, although they were somewhat interested in saying, my customers are asking these kind of questions, or stuff like that, seemed like they were a lot more interested in just connecting with other people in other stores or people at corporate. It was about finding out who works where and who does what, and it got social really fast on its own.
The other thing too is we didn't tell them what they had to talk about. They weren't supposed to answer these kinds of questions. We just said, we went out and told people about BlueShirt Nation when we first built it. It was, if you like it, tell others. If you think it sucks, go ahead and post it on the site, or don't come back.
Right.
And a lot of them posted that it sucked. A lot of them didn't come back. Some stuck around and liked it, and then helped make it better. And then it kind of just went in perpetual motion. We kept listening and trying to change it.
A lot of people that would be seeking input from a company, you hear this from a lot of companies, we want to, give everybody an input, and this is the era of kind of Web 2.0 is new to a lot of people. And the fact that you first thought of blogs or forums is a bit alien still to a lot of people who are hearing a lot about it in the media. What caused you to think about those methods versus, some more old-fashioned versions of maybe just mailing out paper feedback or, flying around doing meetings?
Yeah, I think that's where his interest in tinkering really kind of took off, because this whole world was foreign to me before I met him. And before BlueShirt Nation even became the idea, Gary had about 3 or 4 other concepts that he was working on using some kind of social technology. He had a Linux box at home and was playing around with Drupal. And we were trying to create a business case for creating these communities.
So you're playing around with some open source applications, Drupal being an open source application for collaboration.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that the timing was right for a lot of different things. The fact that there are whole content management systems out there for free, like Drupal, and that server space is so cheap, and bandwidth is so high that even if you have a little bit of knowledge, you can do a lot of damage with a lot of these things. We went out and I think we bought BlueShirtNation.com and got a year of hosting for, I think it was $100. We just put it on a credit card, and that's how it started. And you just roll your own. You go to a couple of forums to get some questions answered about how do I install this particular PHP file, or how do I recompile this kind of a library or whatever. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist anymore to roll a lot of these things. And so.
Now, at this point, had you formally presented your idea to any of the teams, or were you just more playing around still in your own time, testing your hypotheses first?
I don't think we had actually.
We did
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first concept that eventually became BlueShirt Nation was called Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it was a social networking site where people could go and talk about what's new in music, movies, and games coming out on Tuesday.
Yeah, it was aimed at the media employee in the store, the people who work in the music, movies, and games, and then also customers who are really into the new releases because they always come out on Tuesdays or whatever.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd actually put together some mock-ups. Didn't have a demo of it quite built. We put together the business case, and we went and tried to sell it to everyone we could talk to. And a lot of people thought it was a good idea, but no one was willing to put up any money to kind of seed it to let it grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that was at the time too when all the co-creation talk was going on around how, co-creating with the field. And so we started to adapt that model of Next Tuesday to more of an internal focus, and that essentially became BlueShirt Nation.
Yeah, I want to talk about co-creation because these memes and trends tend to have a life of their own.
Yeah.
I think I think I saw as well. We saw a lot, Wikipedia, probably the first mass version of collaboration in terms of being popularized and covered in Newsweek and other places like that. So you could see it happening outside the company, and it sounded like you saw those things too. What else did you see that kind of fed that in? And I guess I also want to get to the challenges that you faced. Getting it to take hold, getting people to sponsor it. How did you eventually get a sponsor for that?
So I think the other thing that led to it was, this is going to sound kind of strange, but I think the other thing for me that led to it was iTunes, right? About a year before, maybe a year and a half before BlueShirt Nation came out, iTunes launched, and it was like, all of a sudden, there's all of these people who have a voice, all these podcasters, right? And you can go download any of these podcasts from iTunes. And all of a sudden, you're getting opinions from, or stories, or ideas from people who you really had to search the web to find them before, and there was no easy way to download a given file or whatever. With iTunes, it was like, I'm just going to search podcasts, I'm going to search in this category, and all of a sudden, you're hearing stuff from all these different people that you never heard from before. And that, for me, was, I went, holy cow, this Web 2.0 or whatever it is that they're calling it, this is going to be a big deal. And so that sort of kept my interest in it. And then I think the other thing that Steve pointed out real early on was that, the average age of a Best Buy employee, let alone someone who works in the field, is pretty young. I think the average age across the enterprise is like, what, 26?
In the stores, it's 19.
In the stores, it's 19. I mean, so you're kind of in a sweet spot with MySpace and Facebook and Zanga and all these other things where they're into it. It's not a hard sell to get them to use this type of technology. They're already using it. So it kind of, for me, those two things kind of made sense, and it's like, well, let's keep pushing this.